Welcome back. I have quite an unusual and very niche thing to share with you all today. I'm almost certain you will not have heard of this artist slash band slash project slash I don't know what. The name is Phuture Doom. Before I even start to describe this music, I want to just share this delightful meme with you to give you an idea. So prepare yourself for what's about to follow. So, Phuture Doom. I have been aware of them pretty much since... I'm going to say them because that's the way they are presented, right? But no one actually really knows who they are. But I've been acquainted with them since like 2013, basically since they emerged. And they emerged on Ausla, which is, or was, don't even know if it's active anymore, Skrillex's own record label that he started. There's speculation like, is it Skrillex and some other producer that he's working with or something? No one knows. I've spent, not obsessively or anything, but you know, the last 10 years, over 10 years now, going through forums and Reddit posts and stuff, trying to figure out who these guys are, and no one knows. Literally no one knows. If you know, by some miracle, then please do spill the beans. It's very rare for an artist or a band or whatever to remain genuinely anonymous. That is an incredibly rare and difficult thing to achieve in this day and age with social media and, you know, everything getting leaked online these days. The thing that I find very frustrating is their last album was 2017 and we've seen slash heard basically nothing since then. Their website, I checked it today and it's the domain is gone. It's not, their website's not there anymore. Like I said, the activity online, they basically released their second album in 2017 and just went, here you go, and then vanished from planet Earth. Like, no one has heard of them at all since then, which I find very fascinating but equally frustrating as hell. In terms of my very specific music preferences, this is like perfect music as far as I'm concerned. You're combining things like black metal-ish guitar and thrash kind of elements with stuff that sounds like The Prodigy. I mean, obviously this is going to be my kind of thing. I thought this from the very moment I heard them for the first time. And actually, the very first time I heard them was, I think it was it's like one of their only music videos. The song Burn the Knowledge, which is after the intro, is the first track on their first album, sounds a lot like Carpe Diem by Willhaven. I'll put them both side by side and you tell me if you notice any similarities. So that was the first thing that I heard, and the first thing that occurred to me. I'm like, this is the electronic version of one of my favorite hardcore bands. There's some artists that like they went into my mind when I wasn't looking and went, let's make music specifically for this guy. There's a few artists out there like that. Wargasm, for example. I know I go on a lot about Wargasm, but there's a reason. And it's the same as this. It's like you took all of my favorite elements of music and put them in this, and that you took everything that I am not a big fan of in music and left it completely to one side, and you just focused on what I want to hear. What I'm getting at, though, is I think my taste in music is quite specific, and I feel like they were quite niche. I would imagine they didn't get as much traction as maybe they were hoping for. And if it is Skrillex, which wouldn't surprise me hugely, based on the sound of the production and certain production cues, I'm like, yeah, this could be Skrillex. I don't know. No one does. He's a very busy man and a very successful man doing his own thing, and so this is a side project is not going to get anywhere near as much traction as anything that he would do under his own Skrillex name, you know? If it's Skrillex, which I'm not saying it is, whoever it is, it seems like they just threw some shit at the wall to see if it would stick. With me, it did. I think in the grand scheme of the world, not so much. Which is a real shame, but it just shows how unconventional my taste in music is, I guess. Like I said, they have 2 albums, this one and this one. I think I prefer the first one, because when I first listened to it, obviously I was going in with the knowledge of Burn the Knowledge, the song that sounds like Willhaven. But everything else on the album, as it went on, it was so varied. Very dark, very heavy, but also very electronic. And this is why I titled the video Electronic Music for Satan Worshippers. Because that's basically what it sounds like. You had a black metal band, and then you took away all of their instruments, and then gave them computers. And said, here, make do with what you have. That's kind of what it sounds like to me, which is a very interesting angle. It would also be very interesting to see it the other way around, I think. But so, I'll give you a few examples here. Burn the Knowledge, we've already gone into. Black Acid Rain. It starts off like the world is about to blow up. And then you think, okay, that's incredibly heavy. And then it switches on a dime to basically sounding like The Prodigy. Like this specific song, I'm like, how did you do that? How did you get inside my head to know exactly what music I wanted to hear? How is that possible? But this is like, in terms of my taste in music, this is like a diamond of perfection in what music should sound like, basically. And another thing that is interesting, aside from maybe 1 or 2 examples on the second album, there's no vocals on this at all. I think that's good. I think, because it sounds sort of like a band, it could be, but you add vocals in, it's going to put focus on the vocalist, obviously, and it's going to detract from this very interesting music. Handbrakes. Again, is stealing pages right out of the Prodigy handbook. Mac 100 is utterly insane. Doom Terrorcore. A quick story about this song. It was New Year's Eve, I want to say 2014, possibly. I was DJing, and amongst a bunch of other DJs. Now, I can't remember that night very well for fairly predictable reasons, but I started my set with this song because I was playing drum and bass, and this is the exact same tempo as drum and bass, so this intro worked perfectly.
Yo, I say, are you ready to blow this motherfucker?
Paradise Lost. Again, this is like a modern interpretation of Diesel Power by The Prodigy, kind of.
Hell enough, revelation in the flames. See the ink is tatted on the page. I used to check out lyrics upon the format, build with skill with technique, computer aid.
Those drums, they're so like pa 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 pa. They're so. This is what I mean by it could be Skrillex, because there's punchiness to these drums that remind me of Skrillex quite a lot. And then Exodus at the end. It's like a epic movie soundtrack. It's like the end credits after a Marvel movie or something. It's crazy, man. So the second album leans a lot more heavily into the doom part of their name. It's a lot more slowed down and not as varied, I would say. We're still super hyped when it came out, because even one song from them at the time, and still now, one single song is going to get me really excited. It's a bit more, in my opinion, a bit more flat than the first album. Like the first album goes this way, then that way, then that way. This one's much more consistent, which is good. It's not a bad thing. They're just very different. If you've liked what you've heard so far, let me know, because I'd be very curious to find out that it's not just me that thinks that this music is wild. Not only did I think that this music was basically perfect from the moment I heard it for the first time, I couldn't get it out of my head. Not necessarily the sound or any specific song, but just the fact of the sound that whoever these people are was so perfect to me that it really left a huge impression on me, to the point where I have this tattoo now. And before you even ask, yes, it was bloody painful. Don't get a tattoo in the middle of your chest. Just don't do it. It's very proud on my chest. Like, if I go to the beach or whatever, I'm walking around without a top, it's going to be probably the most noticeable of all of my tattoos. And I like that because it's going to make people ask questions. Because the chances of someone seeing it and knowing what it is representing are so incredibly slim. And I like that. I wouldn't want to have, like, I don't know, the Slipknot S or something here, you know? That's a little on the nose. People have asked me, like, what is that? And then I've shown them. And they go, oh, okay, yeah, sorry I asked. I love the mystery behind these guys. I love that it's a love-hate relationship, the anonymity that they have, because I find it fascinating. I always find it fascinating when I don't know who an artist is. It makes me want to know more about them. But it's also, at the same time, frustrating, because I want to send them a message and say, like, you made some of my favorite music of all time, and I can't do that. Partly because I assume they're not particularly active on their social media, and I don't use social media. But if I at least knew who they were, I could go and find them and shake their hand or something. But this could have, this is long before AI, right? But it could be that this was generated by a computer. I don't know. It could have been you who made this music, and if so, thank you very much. Like I said, there's a few certain artists that make what I would consider perfect music. The Prodigy, Wargasm, Korn, Phuture Doom. There's a very certain, like, in my head, an elite club of artists and bands that are just perfect as far as I'm concerned, and this is one of them. And so, mentioning Korn, actually, interestingly, there was, on the second album, there is a song that I heard, and for a long time I was listening to it going, I know that vocal is from something else, but what the hell is it from? Because it's pitched up and it's sort of twisted, and it's not the focus of the song. It's kind of a background element, sort of. And then it suddenly dawned on me, oh my god, that's Korn. So the fact that there is a literal Korn sample in here, and I don't mean, it's clearly not a sample of the song. It's not like they took the waveform and just chopped here, chopped there, and then put it in the song. Those are isolated vocals from Jonathan Davis, which is another thing that makes me believe that this could be Skrillex, because Skrillex and Jonathan Davis have a relationship. They work together. They both influenced each other. Like they go back somewhat.
I just wanna break this crown, but it's hard when I'm so run down.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Davis handed over the raw vocal files from Untouchables of all albums. One thing that is kind of weird, there is a live video of them performing. I don't know if it's their only gig, but it's certainly the only video of them performing live that I've ever found. And as you can see, they're performing during the day on a bright sunny afternoon. It's at a festival, clearly, and it looks like it's 2 in the afternoon. That is not the time for this. It's quite inappropriate, honestly. This band is a nighttime band. I think that's very obvious. So making them play live, and it didn't... Obviously you can't see the crowd, but it doesn't they're a very small niche artist, so I wouldn't imagine that the crowd behind is particularly massive. So, and, you know, you got to start somewhere. But I just find it very strange that they were put in a daytime scenario. Like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Obviously, they were covered up as well, so you can't even see their hands. You can't even see what skin color they are. It's so frustrating, but fascinating at the same time. And there clearly is more than one person, because you've got drummer, guitarist, and I don't know, synth player or whatever. Who are these people? Who the hell are these guys? Or girls, even. This could be all women. Who knows? I've been thinking about talking about Phuture Doom for quite some time. I just didn't know exactly how to structure it. Because they're quite niche, I find them so fascinating and musically just bonkers. It's been 8 years since we had a release from them, but I'm really hoping that we get more at some point. Okay, so I've just done a bit of Googling. And this picture here is as much as we've ever seen of them. Like, you can sort of see their noses, and you can see their hands. So at least at this point we know they're white. But that is literally as much as we've ever seen of them. And this picture was from quite a long time ago, so I am assuming that they hadn't quite figured how obscure they want it to be. But yeah, it's a mystery. So yeah, that's about as much as I can share about these guys, because there's really nothing more to go into. Their music is, at this point, and until further notice, over. We don't know who they are, so it's actually been very difficult to to detail this band in any substantial way, other than to go, I think they're really, really good. And hopefully you do as well. If you're not subscribed, then what are you doing? If you've got this far, please subscribe, because I do cover quite obscure niche bands like this one. So if you're into this, then there's a good chance you'll find something else on here at some point that you also like. And thank you to everyone who is subscribed. Your company is always appreciated. But I've still not thought of how to end videos yet. So I'm just going to say, go away.